see if I can get my stream. Yeah. Uh, can marriage actually make you sick and die?
Or
Is it
die.
possible?
Wow.
Is it possible that marriage can make you sick and marriage can also make you die? It may warrant an answer from you. I know somebody has asked me, what kind of topic is that? Aren't you a fan of marriages? I am a fan, but I've also heard about a lot of things that uh, come out of marriages. And we want to be blunt. We want to just say what it is, and we're not going to end it there. We're going to basically follow up on another stream, maybe next week or the week after, and talk about the positive sides. But yes, can marriage make you sick or can marriage? We've heard stories, and I don't know about you, but I have heard a lot of stories in which couples or some parties in marriages have actually died as a result of marriage. And we don't want to just say that that's just the exception. There's a few cases where people have actually gone to serious problems but have not necessarily um, killed themselves or have not necessarily passed away, but they have had very serious challenges in their lives. So today, we want to do justice to the topic. We want you again. I see somebody hit the like button. I like that. I'm hoping that any other person on the stream can also do that because when you do, I see it. Um, Make sure you hit the like button so that we can get more people. Share the link also with the people on your Facebook platforms. If you are watching us on Facebook or YouTube or wherever, Twitter, wherever you are, just make sure you hit the like button and let us go for it. All right, so we have started. So let's see.
And before that,
Yes,
we can also say that if you come on, let us see you by saying hello or hi. We can see the number, but we don't know who is watching. So you can say something, and so that we know that you are there, so that we acknowledge you.
definitely, definitely. Thank you for that. So say something so that the system will take note of your name. If you are on YouTube, you have to be a member of YouTube. If you're on Facebook, you can just click the like also. Wherever you are, just make sure you type something in there to show that you are there. All right. If you are not a member of YouTube, use this opportunity to sign up quickly because we have a huge presence on YouTube. We have videos on how to take care of yourself. We have video shows on a lot of disease states, in particular diabetes, and for men's health also. How to boost your testosterone levels. We have a lot of things going on our channel that you can like apart from the live show. So yes, thank you for that. All right, so let's move on. Our topic again is can marriage make you sick and die or die? All right, and so we have this outline that we want to follow today. And the first one we're going to talk about is we did the review last week. We reviewed or we talked about whether or not marriage can heal you. And those of you who were not on the stream, you can go back to our channel and watch that for yourself. We basically, in summary, we agreed. I talked with Dr. Efua Rekwanari about this subject, and we agreed that the benefits of marriage are huge, and we derive a lot of healings from marriage. We talked about the companionship. We talked about a lot of other things. I don't want to use this show for that, but definitely go back and check on that. And now we also talked about what is marriage. We want to also revisit that as we go forward so that we know what we're dealing with here. Also, we want to talk about the marriage problems that can actually make you sick, which is the basic reasons why we are here today. What marriage problems can actually make you sick. So we want to talk about that. We also want to talk about how does a marriage problem lead to sickness? How does the marriage problem itself, or how do marriage problems lead to sickness?
And the fourth one, we are going to talk about how to get your marriage back or your health back if you are having issues. So basically, we are going to try and come up with solutions that we can all learn. We can put our minds together, our ideas together, so that we all come up with something, solution that can help us improve our marriages so that it won't lead to sickness and death.
All right. All right. So we go forward. We want to first thing we want to talk about is what is marriage? What is marriage? And according to our definition here, this is the legal definition. It is the state of being united to a person as a spouse in a legal, consensual, and contractual relationship, and it is also sanctioned by and dissolvable only by law. So that is basically the lawyer's view of what a marriage is. So it is something that two parties, you can also explain in your own words after I do mine. It is something that two parties have agreed to do. But the key word here that I like, for which reason I brought this definition, is the fact that it's a contract. It's a contract of parties agreeing to live together in a relationship, which is also recognized by law and only dissolvable by law. So it is a legal institution, a contract between two people. When they say the vows, they are literally signing an agreement. It is a contract between the two to live together in holy matrimony, as we say in church.
But me, when I was growing up, I didn't think about the contract between two people. I didn't know I was even signing a contract. All that I know is like I love somebody and I want to be with that person. And
It
I
was me.
and also like the Bible says that a man shall leave his family and go and have tied with another man so that they are one, another woman, if you are a man, right? So that the two will live together as couple, as married people. So when I was growing up, I was thinking, I think marriage in the layman's term is being in love and wanting to stay with each other, and you come together and form a union and live your life together and grow together.
All right, so that is in simple terms what marriage is. So you basically added the biblical portion to it, right? And this is the legal. All right, there are several ways you can define what marriage is. There are some customs that institute marriages, and marriage to us here in the U.S. may be something different to somebody in a different country, depending on your laws and your customs. But whatever it is, as long as you agree that you are marrying, there's a sense that both parties have agreed to live together, and that particular relationship is recognized by law. And so you do things not anyhow, but according to what the law says. All right. Okay. All right. So let's move forward then. So now we're starting the real topic that we have for today. So marriage problems can make you sick. That is what we're trying to agree on right now. Let's come back next to you a little bit. Okay. So, and we're going to take over for the first.
Marriage problems.
The
Marriage
first one is A.
So can we say that like bad marriages, even the main topic that you talk about, can marriage make you sick or die? Can we say bad marriage?
Yes, definitely. That's what
Right,
we mean.
we mean,
Because
okay.
we assume that good
Good
marriages
marriage
will
will,
do that.
yeah.
Yeah. So
But we all die anyway. Sometimes we fall sick anyways, right?
So
Yes.
it is. We are talking about good marriages. Yeah, right. I mean,
Bad
bad marriages
marriages.
that leads to sickness. Okay, so the first one is it ceases to serve couples. If a marriage or an agreement or a contract that people have set do not or does not serve the couple's interest, then that is when problems begin to come in. So the first point I put there is what? It benefits no one. So people are in agreement, all right, but there's no benefit for any one of them. So that's when problems begin to start, right?
Okay. And cease to serve its purpose. So maybe when you are going into the marriage, you know what to expect, or in your own mind, what you are going in for. Then you get in, and whatever you expected that the marriage will give to you, you are not getting it. So it's the purpose of you entering into that union is not being served. It ceases to serve couples. Okay. Can't fix it. Stress. That's the next point.
Yeah. So the problem is if it ceases to serve you and you cannot fix it, then it leads to stress. That is when we have the problem of marriage leading to health issues. And we're going to talk about stress in a lot here because basically that's where we're going at when marriages are in problem. And the next point is that if a marriage, because we said marriage is a contract, if the marriage contract is broken, then definitely it can lead to sickness or death. And we want to talk about infidelity.
Infidelity. So when you were going into the marriage, in your mind, you think that you are going to be united with one person, share bed with that person, emotionally, physically, and everything. Then all of a sudden, that contract has been broken. The person is not responding to you. Then it can lead to stress.
Okay.
So that is one of the problems.
That's one of the problems. And then, obviously, if there's infidelity, then we cannot rule out the fact that STDs can also come, right? There could be HIV or AIDS as a result of a marriage infidelity. So those two, there's more, but those two are the first things we want to talk about that can bring problems. Now, each one of these groups of problems you're talking about are going to lead to stress because that problem is going to be a burden on one of the parties involved. As a matter of fact, it affects both of them. Yeah, so stress is where the problem is going to be. It's going to be an indirect problem that affects your health. But we have more to talk about on stress and how that affects marriage. So don't leave yet. We're going to hit all those points. And then the next thing, point C, is that marriage that can lead to sickness or that can make you die is one that can also come from an extended influence, outside influence, such as family, extended family influence, negative, I should say, because some extended family influences are very good, right? So if an extended family influence is negative, that can bring stress, and stress leads to sickness, and sickness can lead to death. So that is where we're going with that. And then as extended too, you want to say something about friends?
Or friends, like if the friend, you have some friends that are influencing you in a negative way. They are advising you against what you and your partner have decided on. Then the friend's influence can cause problem in the marriage.
Definitely. And that negative friends, I think I alluded to that in one of our shows that where a marriage was broken just because a friend told the wife that, hey, don't let your husband go to school while you do all the work alone. So friends' influence can lead to stress in marriage and, for that matter, health problems. And then also career. Career can also affect a marriage. Whether or not it's competitiveness, competition in career, or somebody takes over the career so much that they leave the marriage, contract behind, and all their focus is on how they get promoted at work, how they do well, how they make the money. That is an external influence that can stress a marriage to the point that the other party who did not bargain for that becomes stressed and can get sick. So that is one where I was going with that. I don't know if you have any.
So can you think of it that way, that you were so involved in your work? That's what you're trying to get at? Like
Right,
the job that you're doing, you're so involved that you neglect
your responsibilities to your spouse.
Okay. And the unmet expectations, I think I alluded in that the first part that we talked about what you expect in a marriage, right? So when you were coming in, you had your own ideas, your own hopes, and all of a sudden the finance is not going as well as you thought it would be because maybe you have kids coming in, you didn't plan for that, you have extended family demanding more and more, and your income is not coming as much as you expected, then that can bring a lot of problems in the marriage. Unmet expectations.
Unmet expectations in your finances, especially when you before you guys married, this man or this woman was showering you with all the gifts, all the finances, everything was good, and then all of a sudden after the marriage, nothing is coming because you have to cut your budget. You guys are responsible for rent, for mortgage, or car payment. Everything is come together, and yet there's not been any additional increases in your income. So that influence can lead to stress with that disease that can happen. And then the next one is character. I think I was told before I married that if you are going to marry, be careful, because when the lady knows that you are trying to come here to marry, they're going to make sure that they show you the angelic nature, right? And it happens to everybody, right? If a lady knows you're coming around and you may be a good material, they will all of a sudden become angels. So then when
not angels per se, they'll put up, good appearance.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to put up, but sometimes it shows more than what you thought they are, and then you fall in love with that person, you think that, oh, this person, she never insults. She's so respectful. But then your expectation of that changes when you have gone together in in an institution of marriage, and all of a sudden this person, one, two, three, they are yelling at you. It's an unmet expectation in character. You know, whether it's from the man or from the woman, that is something. You get what I'm saying?
Yes,
Do you
yes.
understand?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, do you have anything to add to it?
Yeah, so sometimes there is no way that you can see in all when you are courting or dating, right? So maybe when you get into the marriage, you something that you never bargained for, you find it in that relationship. Like maybe the man will be so like abusive, you know. You didn't think that will happen, but you will see that it's in your marriage. So some characters can be hidden. Then you go into the marriage and it will start showing. Then you're like, oh my god, this is a huge problem.
Right, and that can lead to stress because this is something you've invested in, and that stress can lead you to be sick. That's where we're going at with that. And then also, apart from that, sex. Sex also can be unmet expectation in sex. Some men go to marriage thinking that when I wasn't married, um, maybe I was a Christian, I wasn't sleeping around. Now that I'm married, I have to get sex every day. And then they find out after the marriage that it's not like that. The lady can say no at some point, or they can say, hey, I'm tired. And then if they say it more often than they thought they would, that's an unmet expectation. And similarly, a lady can also feel the same way. Oh, this I'm not being satisfied enough. Or it's not even that. Maybe they also feel they are also getting too much at what they are actually getting at. So those two things work on both sides to make people stressed, and that stress, if it is not managed, can lead to disease. Because especially if you love that person and you don't want to leave that person because of that, you don't manage that stress well, then obviously you're going to have to deal with this for a long time. So if you are stressed over a long period, then sickness can result. And that is what we're going to talk about. How stress, we're going to hit that later, how that stress can lead you and make you sick. All right. Did you want to add anything to that part, or should I move?
Yeah, let's move on.
All right. So the next one is the E, is the money problem. The money problem. Trust. When we talk about money, the first thing that comes to mind is what? Trust. Trust is an issue for a lot of people. If you cannot feel like you are trusted, that can be stressful. Or if you don't trust somebody, and that person, because of their mismanagement, finance or whatever it is, or even their own lifestyle, you don't trust that when they go out, they don't sleep around and all that. You can eternally, I'm saying eternal, because it can make you feel stressed all throughout the marriage. Because each time your man is going out, you are thinking that maybe there's a lady out there for her. Or each time your woman is going out, you are thinking that maybe there's a guy out there. And if you're going to be in a long marriage, just imagine that stress alone can make you sick. And we're talking about the sickness as we go forward.
Yeah, so if you're talking in terms of money, you know that if there is no trust in the way that your partner handles money, you know that you are going to stay broke for lifetime. There is no planning, there is nothing, because the trust is not there. The management, of money is not there. So that can lead to stress, and you'll be stressing about everything. There will be a lot of confusion in the marriage because all that you are worried about is like, we don't have enough money. We don't have enough money. And you are worried about it because you don't trust your partner to make a good decision and have the good judgment to do certain things. So that can lead to stress. And as we know, stress leads to a lot of problems.
That we're going to talk about soon. All right, so that is that. And then also drive, work, and career. Those can also bring problems in marriage. And that problem can lead to diseases. If you marry somebody who has the drive to just make it at work, I think we alluded to that. All they want to do is to work. They don't have time for family. And you are a lady seeing a man always. Early in the morning, he's gone. Late in the night, he comes. Early in the morning, almost every day of the week. That can be stressful. And that can make you, the woman who is being stressed this way, get sick and eventually get into trouble. And then the other way, you can chip in. The other way is that some people also don't want to, do any serious work. From drive, somebody who has great drive to someone who doesn't want to work a lot, and so the other partner feels like, you know, this is not what I bargained for. This contract that I signed, I was thinking that you're a hard-working woman, and I wanted you to, contribute to the house, and yet this woman comes in the house, and all they're expecting is that they have to be taken care of because according to their custom and tradition, they have to be taken care of. They are looking for you to take care of them, and that can make a man stressed because the stress of trying to provide for the house alone, especially if you live in where we live out in the U.S., can be something that can put you under undue pressure, which will make you sick. And then career is similar. Do you want to say anything to that?
About career. So like
No, anything.
or cost of health. I was thinking about the cost of health care. So like if you were single, you wouldn't worry so much about your partner falling ill and you spending a whole lot of money, so
Insurance or
on
anything.
insurance or on the health of the other person. So you are in a marriage now and one person is sick, so that can cause a lot of stress. For being married to such a person, now you have to spend a lot more because the person has health issues. So that can be a problem
Definitely,
in
definitely,
a marriage.
definitely. That can be a problem. So, the health issues that you found out after the marriage is not making you also getting sick because you have to deal with what is going on. So marriage can be tricky, your brothers and sisters. It's not all rosy, right? But we will hit on the positive, what we can do to stop those. So just stay tuned. Don't leave the stream yet. We're going to hit all those positive items too. Okay, so the next one is lifestyle. Lifestyle changes. Before marriage, you would probably not have thought so much about, having children or childcare, and you have a baby or you have a couple of babies, and this skinny lady that you fell in love with all of a sudden becomes a big bloated woman, right? And that's the result of marriage, So that brings its own stress, and then also that stress can lead to sickness. So that is one. I don't know if you want to add
And
in.
also like getting pregnant because we are in a marriage, right? You are going to get pregnant. You get pregnant and you can feel the stress on your body for having kids. So even we've all agreed that we are going to have 4 kids, most of the stress is on the woman's body. So a lot of stress, and sometimes your body is stressed, stretched, expanded, and you realize that you are gaining weight, and gaining weight comes with its own problems. So health problems. So marriage lifestyle changes can cause a lot of problems.
Cause a lot of problems. I didn't even think about that. Some people even die in marriage
Giving birth.
because they're giving birth. And before they were married, they were not thinking of having children. So that is another negative out there, especially if you are in a developing country where maternal and child care is not that great, or you are in an area where that provision of care is not great. It's a huge risk for just marrying because you don't know what's going to happen when you're going to have a child or when you are pregnant. So yes, this is a direct connection to your health as a result of marriage, right? And then you also mentioned the weight gain. Another way I also add to the weight gain is new diet. Have you seen? I've seen couples after marrying. You see them 3 months, and the man is big. The woman
He's
is
looking
big.
good because
we
the
call it
wife
looking good
is
because the
taking
wife
care
is
of him
taking care
very
of them.
well.
They are overeating. They're eating. Well, I don't say overeating. maybe the joy of marriage is making them live happier, and their belly is bloating up already. They are building fat everywhere, and we say, "Ah, man, this guy's enjoying his marriage." I hope it's all the enjoyment, but also they are building up on some fat in places where they don't have to. So look, having a wife in their life is now providing them with consistent meals, which incidentally is making them fat. And making them fat also making them sick in the future and very soon. All right. So new diet that comes with consistent meals. As again, somebody who is single, who doesn't have to cook, especially if they eat right on their own, they will probably continue to remain healthier. But a marriage can lead somebody to gain weight because of consistent eating because there's a wife or there's a husband who cooks, and there's always food at
There's a
home.
husband who
Who
cooks.
cooks? Yeah, the husbands that cook too, and there's always food at home for the wife, so the wife will gain. And then there's a wife that cooks, and there's always food at home, and so the man also gains weight, and that gaining of weight and all that also leading to health problems.
Yeah. So maybe as a single person before you got into marriage, right? You are single. Sometimes you don't feel like cooking, you know, you don't feel like cooking. And sometimes you can go out for a longer period of time. Your fridge is not always filled up. Whenever you have money, you can go grocery. When you don't have, you can live without it. So that was in a way controlling your weight gain.
Yeah.
But now that you're together, you're a family, now you keep going grocery, keeping up. And if your guy wants like fresh food every day, that they don't want frozen foods and stuff like that, you have to keep cooking every day. And the more you cook, there will be the testing, the tasting, you know, and that will make you pound weight. So that's a side effect for being married and cooking every day just to keep food on the table.
All right. I hit the DJ horn for that, right? All right. So yes, cooking consistently making us bigger, fatter, sicker, and all that. And then the other one on the bottom of the screen there is abuse, abuse. There could be physical abuse, and there could be emotional abuse. I'm hoping that if you're watching us and you're married, if you are not physically abusing your wife, or your wife is not physically abusing you, you always forget about that part. The,
The wife
the
abusing.
wife is not physically abusing you, and you are not physically abusing her, and you are not emotionally abusing her, and she is not, then obviously you are cool. But once that happens, the party that's being abused is subjected to constant stress because they cannot control it. They don't know when it's going to come. So they are always living on the edge, thinking that if I do this, my husband may hit me or my wife may hit me. And that alone can make you also feel like you are getting sick. In fact, it will lead you to sickness because you are living on the edge. Do you understand anything
And
about
it can kill you. Like somebody can be physically abusive and they can hit you and you can die.
Definitely.
Yeah, so that can lead to death too. So
Yes. Oh, yeah.
yeah, if I
Remember,
remember.
there's a story in Nigeria where I think there was a gospel singer that was killed from physical abuse. I'm
Physical
pretty sure
abuse.
maybe their husband even went to church, and yet they couldn't control their temper at one point. So they killed the wife by hitting them. So marriage can lead to death. So those of you who thought that this topic is too bad, it's happening right there. But we want to make sure that we talk about how to avoid those. So stick around, don't leave, and we will hit all those things.
And emotional abuse too. We can think of it this way that if whenever you are home with your partner, all that you keep hearing is the negative, they stay on the negative so much that emotionally you are not fulfilled or emotionally you are down. So your self-esteem is off. When you were single, you were thinking that you are all in all, right? You have it all figured out and you're moving. Then you get into marriage, and all that you keep hearing is, "Oh, you are this, you are that, you are that." Your shortcomings are being told to you every
All
day,
the time you're being
all the
reminded.
time. You be reminded. So emotionally, you are being abused. So you go out there with your peers, and you feel so low and unvalued. That's from being married. So
That's
that
from
can
being
be,
married.
yeah, the
If you
side
had been
effects.
single or
You
traveling
wouldn't
alone,
have
yes.
experienced that.
Right, so that's from being married. All right, so let's go to the next one. The next one then is how does marriage problems lead to sickness? Now we have talked about a lot of the problems. I'm pretty sure we didn't mention them all. In the interest of time, we can't say all the marriage problems. But at this point, we want to talk about how does the problems we have spoken about, how do they translate into health challenges for the parties involved?
Okay.
And
So before we continue, you want to acknowledge the
yes.
people
Oh yeah, we have some people on there. Unfortunately,
right there.
this is.
Rosina.
Oh yeah. Oh wow. Okay, so let's see. Rosina says, "Hello, Mr. and Mrs. Thank you for coming in, Rosina. Thank you for checking in. Hope you are also sharing with others. All right, and who else? He says, ha ha ha,
Overeating.
overeating. Oh, I thought it was overheating. All right, so overeating for marriage, right?
Mhm.
That is good. Thanks for that comment. I think that comment deserves a good All right. All right. So, Rosina, thank you for that. And I'm hoping that other people will also give us their comments as we go. All right. So, the next one is we're talking about how does marriage problems lead to sex? Now we know the problems, some of them at least. How do they lead to problems? Then we group them into two. We have direct and indirect. Direct and indirect problems. And the direct problems, as you may have heard us say, and the indirect one is stress, right? So we're going to talk about stress. Stress is the major cause of disease in a dysfunctional marriage.
Mm.
All right. And according to this dictionary and all that, it says that stress is a feeling of emotional or physical tension from any event or thought that makes you feel frustrated, that makes you feel angry, that or makes you feel nervous. All right, and I put in parentheses that makes you feel like you have lost control. If you lose control over everything, or if you feel like you don't have control over this situation, then that is where stress is. So that is basically where the problems of marriage transition into health problems. The stress part, it is two of them. That's indirect. It's the physical tension that you get from the problems. Imagine the problems we talked about. Trust. You don't trust your husband is going out and he's not going to be sleeping around. And the husband has to go out to work every day. How much stress you're going to be in each time he takes his car keys or gets out and goes to work. That's constant strain, constant physical tension, and that can lead you into problems. We're going to talk about some of the problems that you can get as a result of stress as we go forward. So stick around. And then also, um, stress. This is loss of control. As I said, if you feel like you cannot control every situation, you try to stop a problem from happening. Maybe you caught your husband cheating, or he admitted one, and then you talk to him. You guys had an understanding. You talk to a pastor or something, and the problem is resolved. And yet it happens again. So you feel like control. There's nothing you can do about this situation. So that sense of losing is the place where you are most stressed because you can't do anything about it and yet you are stuck in that relationship. Should you leave? Should you be there? That stress can lead to sickness. And there's other issues in marriage, any other problems that you can think of, you can also bring up. Abuse. Talk about abuse.
Abuse. So, like, I think I mentioned the emotional abuse,
Yeah.
right? Emotional abuse. So, you feel like you don't have control.
You don't have control over the situation.
So, you're not comfortable in your own house.
Mm.
So, like, oh, you see that, oh, he's coming home. I know he's going to talk about this, how my food is like, how the house look. So, constant stress. You feel like you are losing control. So that can be something that can lead to a lot of health issues.
Health issues. So
Constantly be at that state of stress.
yes, constant nervousness, constant anxiety.
Mhm.
They are all problems. And then on the other side, though, stress, there's a form of stress that is good. You don't want to say all stress is bad. Stress is the body's own reaction to a challenge on it. If you are challenged physically, the body does something just to counter it. And it is good to some extent. But when it becomes persistent, if it's like every day you are stressed, the man is going stress, including stress, or whatever it is you are stressed about in a marriage, if it's constant, that is where disease comes in. So a little stress is good. But before we came here, I was a little stressed because hey, people are going to see me. That's fine. That made me sit up and read and stuff, right? So that's a good stress. But I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about constant stress where you feel like you're losing control. You have no way of escape, and that makes you sick. It's going to eventually get to you at some point. And that is what we're talking about. And as I'm saying, we're going to talk about some of the diseases that this stress from marital issues can lead to. All right. So I think we can move forward on that side.
With stress, the STDs, right? So if your man is unfaithful, constantly you are worried about catching disease. So you are always thinking about, oh, do I have to do this test? Do I have to go and check this and that and that? Oh, my husband went to Ghana. I don't know where he went there to do. So he comes back and you are worried. This constant stress can lead to a lot of
A lot of
issues.
issues. A lot of, all right. So then, more on the stress. See, now this is what that stress can lead to, the disease state. This is where we say that marriage can cause sickness and potential death. The first one is headaches. People who are stressed constantly in their marriage due to marital problems, whether it's about finance, whether it's about trust, whatever it is about abuse, they have headaches. Not everybody will have headache, but at least you have one of these, right? So that is one. And the other one is high blood pressure. Most people who have high blood pressure, if it is not of something genetic, if it is not like maybe your mom that had and your family is something in there, most likely it could be attributed to other forms of stress in your life. And I don't want to say always from marital stress, but since we are talking about marriage right now, I can say that health problems that can come from marriage sometimes are from the stress from marriage, and that is high blood pressure. So if you can control everything, all things being constant, if your marriage is a problem, that alone can shoot your blood pressure. Because remember, you are always constantly on the edge. And I think discussed last time the way stress happens. Maybe I'll hit on it quickly. The release of cortisol, a hormone in the body. When you are stressed, the natural response of the body is to release that cortisol. And when that cortisol is released, it's acting like you are in a severe situation, and you have to run, you have to fly, you have to do whatever it is to avoid danger. And that cortisol, when it's released, leads to a lot of things, including anxiety, including weight, including all those things that we're talking about. So that is related to stress. So stress can make your pressure go up. Why? Because you're releasing some chemicals that are not good for you to be releasing all the time. Good for intermittent. You need to escape some issues. But once those issues are gone, the stress must go away. So you want to say the next one? Diabetes.
I would talk about like the depression.
The depression.
More, the depression. So like if you are in a relationship or you are in a marriage and you don't feel fulfilled, you are not happy in it, you feel like you are stuck, then depression may kick in. You may be so depressed. Like sometimes I've heard stories that some women like will go outside because they are so depressed, and suicidal ideation may kick in too because they are not happy and they are not enjoying their marriage. So being a bad relationship, bad marriage can lead to depression.
Lead to depression and anxiety too. Since you
Anxiety.
mentioned depression and anxiety, you're always anxious. Well, what's going to happen next? This man, this thing that I did, or this man, this thing that I did. What is she coming to do when she gets home? It's a constant state of nervousness, anxiety, and this one I like about is upset stomach. So most of us, or most of you that have upset stomach, check where it's coming from. If it is not from eating something that your body is not used to, but anytime you do something with your wife or you guys argue a little bit, there's upset stomach. Come on, check it out. I think we need that.
I'm so
Upset stomach coming from stress. GERD, we call it GERD. Gastroesophageal reflux disease.
Oh, acid reflux.
Acid reflux coming. Acid is blowing up. You're always bloated because of the stress in your marriage. It happens. It's happening to people. So please, let's check that. Now, like I'm saying, we're going to talk about as we go forward how to mitigate all those issues before we end the show. But let's go on a few more. Do you see anyone?
Poor sleep.
Poor sleep.
Poor sleep. You go to bed angry, you are upset about everything. There is no way that you can sleep well. If your stress level is so high, the alertness of your brain will not make you calm, and that will give you poor sleep. And if your body is not rested enough, it comes with a lot of complications and health issues. So
Wow.
poor sleep.
Poor sleep. Poor sleep because of the stress that you have in your marriage. And also chest pain. Chest pain. As a matter of fact, you can get a heart attack because of stress. Stress can kill you from a heart attack. And the stress comes from your marriage. Oh, God, have mercy. You know, I know some people have died in their marriages because the woman was stressing them so much.
Oh,
Now, I didn't pick on the
the other
woman.
one,
The other
the other
one too
way.
happens, right? But you know, men die more of a heart attack, I guess.
Stressing them.
Yeah, so stress can get you into a heart attack. Stress from the home. Unfortunately, it can happen. But, you know, you can do something about it. So we'll talk about that. And I
I
think
think it's linked to heart
heart
problems.
problems, yeah. So stress, high blood pressure, diabetes, all those things come together. And also, you know, if you have asthma, your asthma can be made worse because of marital problems. Because you're always again anxious, you're panting for air. Asthma cannot help. I mean, your marriage will not help your asthma. But if you don't have asthma, that can worsen any kind of allergic response that you may have. And then there's one that is not even here. Oh, there's more here. There's skin
Skin
conditions.
conditions, yeah. So you can break up acne, dry skin. That can be due to
That can be
stress,
due to
and the
stress.
stress may be related to your marriage problems.
Yes. I'm not saying that anybody that has acne is because they have marriage problems, because some people are getting their acne from stress at work, right? So that happens, but then that also happens in marriages. And then what else? Arthritis. Every inflammatory disease gets energized when you are in a constant state of
Stress.
stress. You know, if you're always stressed, all the inflammatory diseases that you can think of, all the diseases that end in itis, those are inflammatory diseases. All those become enhanced because your cortisol level is released, and constant stress is going to enhance all those inflammatory diseases. So arthritis is just one. Rheumatoid arthritis, you know, lupus, whatever disease you think of. If you are in a bad marriage, it can make it worse. And if you don't have any disease, you can actually start a disease just because of the state of stress that you are getting from your marriage. All right, I think we can move on with. All right, so the next one is indirect causes. So we talked about stress, and this is what the occupational safety still we are still in the indirect cause, which is stress. Occupational Safety and Health Administration (OSHA) they have declared that stress is a hazard at the workplace. Stress is a hazard at the workplace. And today at this the Life and Health Show with us here, we also want to declare that stress is a hazard in every marriage,
In a bad
in a bad
marriage,
marriage.
bad relationship, not in every marriage.
Not in every marriage, right? Yes. In a very bad marriage, stress is a hazard. Just like it is in any occupation, stress can be a hazard in a bad marriage. All right.
So can you imagine that you are being stressed at work,
Mm.
right? And you come home and you are being stressed in your marriage. Can you imagine the kind of lifestyle that you will have as a person?
That is what can lead to heart attack quick.
Yes. So because the stress is double
Double stress.
coming from work and coming from home. So together is huge disaster ready to happen.
So we got to learn to manage it. And don't leave the stream yet. We got to go there and talk about that. If you are watching at the replay, also stay to the end because we're definitely going to hit on those. All right. So how do the problems continue to get us sick? Now, this is the direct causes. So we talked about stress, which is an indirect cause of sickness and death, but this one is a direct from marriage, not through a secondary endpoint. So STDs, for an infidel, for a marriage where one partner cheats and gets themselves sick, they can infect the other person, right? So that becomes what we mean by getting directly sick because of your relationship. And if you got HIV or if you got chlamydia as a result of your wife or husband cheating on you, it's as a result of that marriage. You would probably not have been in that situation if you were not married to somebody who cheated on you. All right, so that is a big one. And the other one is physical and emotional abuse that directly leads to anxiety, right?
Depression.
Depression, as you mentioned. So if you are emotionally abused or physically abused, we already know of an example where somebody who is physically abused actually died in the marriage. So what else should we say about marriage causing somebody to be sick? They can go to the extreme due to abuse. Abuse can lead to death, and abuse can lead to disease, both emotional and physical abuse. It can also let you have mental health problems. Apart from the direct causes, it can also lead to indirect causes, of depression and the rest.
And I know the physical abuse, I've heard stories that they got slapped or hit so hard that they've lost their eyesight.
Wow,
So physical abuse can lead you to having a disease in a marriage.
which is terrible,
Terrible.
terrible. All right. Okay, so the next one is the weight gain.
I think we talked about
That
that.
is also direct. We're saying the direct causes on your health. So marriage lead to direct causes on your health, gaining weight, getting diabetes, or unhealthy in one way or the other.
So can we say that the men should stop blaming the women so much when they gain weight whilst they are married to them?
Of course, it's one thing giving me the food, but it's another thing eating it all, right? Even though as tempting as it may be, sometimes it's so hard to leave the plate half of the plate, especially when you have a woman who does not feel like if you don't eat, you are trying to be healthy. They may think that maybe you think the food is not tasty.
Tasty.
So the woman has to understand that you are taking care of yourself. You don't want to get a pot belly, and that's why you are not eating everything. But if that doesn't happen, then it becomes an issue. You probably have to eat it to please her, and find a way to lose the weight
After.
after, which is not healthy. So I think there's got to be a communication there, and we're going to talk about the solutions too. All right, so
We are talking
we are
about
going to how to get your marriage health back, the solutions. So we are actually in the solutions. We start with the direct causes. So you got to acknowledge that there's a problem. If your husband or wife is beating you and you don't acknowledge that you are being abused, then obviously you don't even know. You're going to stay there until one day he or she kicks you in the wrong part of the body and you die. So you got to know that you have a problem in your marriage. Then you can do something about it.
And I think we talked about owning your problem in one of the slides, the videos that we did. So we can talk about like you acknowledge that there is a problem, you review and try to find solution. So acknowledging that there is a problem in the relationship. You came into the marriage knowing very well that you are going to make it work. Then you entered it and you realized that things are not as rosy as you thought it was going to be. Now you know that there is a problem. There is a problem. So you just have to acknowledge that there is a problem and try and find a solution. Like I said last time, if you don't know that it's a problem, you're being abused, and you know that it's
Actually, some
okay.
people think it means that the husband loves you, they hate you. I don't know where that comes from, but I've heard women argue that if your husband hates you and then after that you have sex, that is the best. I'm like, really? And you women out there, if you are watching it that live or after the replay, make sure you make a comment and see if you've heard what I'm saying before. So if you don't know it's a problem, you're going to take your reading. Hopefully, since you don't think it's a problem, maybe it doesn't make you stress until it kills you.
Yeah.
And the next one is obviously the direct. How do you solve that problem of STDs and HIV? Obviously, you have to stay counseled. If you have a problem with men or with women before marriage or after marriage, when you get in, you got to seek help. There are counselors, you have pastors, you have a community leader. You definitely need to help for counseling and also be open and upfront with your spouse so that they will know, they will figure out where you are, especially when you've been caught before. They don't have to figure out or make excuses in their own minds. Where is she? Where is he? No, you got to tell them wherever you are, check in with them, and let them know so that their stress level will go down. You want to add anything?
Yes. So, like, if you know your partner is not trustworthy, infidelity, right? So you realize that they've cheated on you. You have to know in order not to go through that stress. So we talk about it. Then we are all going to have tests. We are all going to be tested. Then if I'm not comfortable, it's okay to use protection, so that constant stress will be taken away. Though you know that you are protecting yourself If you can't trust your partner, you have to do something to protect yourself. Then you know, check in once in a while so that that stress of you thinking that you have acquired something will be taken away from you.
All right, all right. That is a hard pill to swallow. I'm pretty
Mm-hmm.
sure. If anybody agrees in the comments, please put it in there because I don't know if I can take that. I don't want to be testing and testing and testing and living with the
That's
same
stress.
person who cannot change.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? I mean, it's a solution, all right, like you're saying. But I don't know if everybody is up for it. Some people will be like, you know what, I like this guy, I like this girl, I'm gonna stick with it, but I can't trust that this that business trip that he's going is really not going to see any woman for all those 3 days. Let me just protect myself. How long can you protect yourself as a spouse, though?
Mm.
That's the question, you know. But
So
it's a solution.
how do you
I mean, it's a solution.
deal with it?
That's the problem. We don't have all the answers. I mean, we have written that down. We agreed before we came on the show that that's part of the solutions. But yes, still, I know some of you do not agree, and that is why we're doing this live. You can put a comment there if you disagree, and we'll see if we'll maybe make a video on that by itself, or if you agree, you can also tell us. All right. So, but it's a big deal because if you can't change the man, you know this is the person you are living with, and especially some of you who are religious who know that you cannot leave this man, leave this woman. What do? Do you begin to wear protection because you don't want to get HIV, you don't want to get STDs? It's real. You can get STDs. People have gotten it in their marriages because their partners were unfaithful. So our solution, if that person was not changing and you cannot leave them, then wear protection in the marriage. That is one thing that we have put out there. Like we said, it's not the best, but we are not. We are all learning together. So let us know what you, and we will also share with others if you want to put a comment on there. All right. So the next one is the abuse. I think we also look at the abuse. How do you solve the problem of abuse in a marriage? How do you solve the problem of abuse in a marriage?
You can seek counseling,
You can
right?
seek counseling too.
Yeah.
Good.
Because if the man is physically abusive, sometimes they will come out of it and they will tell you that, oh, it's not me, something took over me, I lost control. So they have to go through counseling to be able to control their emotions or their anger so that they don't take it on you and hit you, and that can lead to death or something like that. So we have to seek counseling
Have to seek
if
counseling.
your partner has that kind of issue.
And then if after the counseling it still repeats, and we also agree that you can divorce. We are not pastors. As for abuse, I think that if you talk to your pastor or your religious leader or anybody, that your husband or your wife is beating you to the extent that last time you had to go to the hospital for for treatment, don't don't stay there. Next time you may not survive. As we have said, some people have passed away because of abuse. So the first step is what my wife said: seek counseling. Both of you agree that there's a problem, and let the man or woman get treatment. If after that it still happens, then this is not something that can be solved by counseling. You had a term.
You have to remove
You have
yourself
to remove yourself.
from the situation.
I like that. You remove yourself, right? Take yourself out of the place. This is not divorce. You are just removing yourself. You are just removing yourself from harm's way.
Yeah.
Before the tractor trailer hits you or mows you down, just remove yourself from there because that's not a safe situation. No amount of love can define and give excuses on one person hitting the other person every time they are angry. If they have no self control and they have to hit you, then you got to advise yourself, remove yourself. All right, all right. So the next one is how do you deal with the weight problem in your marriage? How do you deal with the weight problem in marriage? Childbirth happens, life happens. You get a kid, we blow up. What do we do? What do we do?
Yeah, so you have to try and take a look at your diet in general. What kind of are you feeding each other? Is it more carbohydrates based or is it a balanced diet? The time that you eat, do you come home late? And when you come, because you have to eat your fufu for the day or your big cassava, like carbohydrates,
Big potatoes.
no, you have to reconsider So if you know that you're going to eat a little late, you have to change the kind of food that is available. If you are going to eat a little early, maybe you can eat your high carbohydrate content. But when it's a little late, you have to increase the grain and the greens and the healthy stuff,
And you
instead
have
of
to exercise.
exercise.
You have
Right.
to keep exercise as your routine because obviously you're going to have a consistent eating habit. Since you're married, your wife or husband may be cooking all the time. You can say that when I was single, I was eating twice a day. So if you're cooking 3 times a day, I'm just going to eat twice a day. Well, if your wife agrees, fine. But if it is a place where you cannot, agree because you have to sit with the kids and eat and all that, you have to include exercise so that your amount of calories can be checked with the amount of calories you burn through exercise
And
and,
portion
and
size.
portion size, what your portions are. So you can eat all right, but bowl of everything, a little bit here and there, and you still keep going with your healthy weight. So that's that for heat. I mean for the weight gain and the childbirth. You can't do anything about it. If you have babies, you usually go up. But I think some people have taken that as an advantage. They have babies and they leave themselves to just gain the weight because they have an excuse now. Oh, I have kids, that's why. No, I've seen people with 5 kids and they look like they haven't had children before. Why? Because they hit the gym, they made a concerted effort, they actually determined to make sure that they put off the weight that they gain during pregnancy. And then some of us, we just give the excuse of childbirth and we leave ourselves to go and we blow up fat. And then now your husband doesn't see you active anymore because you have kids and you are blown up. You're not exercising, you're not toning up your body anymore. Everything is straight like men, and they begin to look at other places. So you definitely need to. I think this also needs an applause. What do you
I
think?
think so.
All
But
right.
sometimes the culture that some of us come from, our cultural way of thinking. Like if you have babies, you have to put on a little weight. So maybe they even encourage you to take some like blood tonic or something just to
Multivitamins to eat more
multivitamins, no, so that you can eat more
and
and
gain
put
more weight.
on more weight.
No, those are the days past. Right now, I don't think we should encourage them to do that anymore.
Right,
I agree with you. That yes, from where you're saying,
right.
a lot of people do that, especially before they go to church and name their children. They
Yeah,
want to show that the husband is taking good care of them, so they are eating and eating, taking like more device to even gain weight. But I think those days are
are
gone right
gone.
now. We should not.
So those are the days that we did not know.
No,
Now we know. So we don't have any excuse. We can have 3 kids, 4 kids,
and
and
so
you still maintain a
a
healthy
healthy
weight.
weight. All right, that's good. All right, so the next one is the indirect causes of disease, which is stress. How do we solve those up? The first one, as we said, is acknowledge. We're not going to say much about it. You got to acknowledge that there's a problem. You are stressed. There's stress in the family, there's stress in the home, and that's your first step. The second step is what? Prayer. Prayer. You brought that up. Can you expand on that for a little bit? While I'm
Yeah, I
doing
think it's in Philippians chapter 4, verse 6.
that? Okay.
We can read that.
All right. All right. All right.
Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your mind in Christ Jesus. So this one is like a constant stress that are being thrown at us here and there through our marriage. If you are a Christian, the solution can be being prayerful, because the Bible assures us that we shouldn't worry, we shouldn't be anxious over anything in our marriage. We shouldn't be anxious of it, but with prayer and petition. So as long as we pray, the Bible says that the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your heart and your mind. So that's peace. Instead of being stressed because you have prayed, you've handed the problem to God. And because you've handed the problem to God, the peace of God will be your portion. So that would be one of the solutions.
That's one of the solutions. So that's, I think, the number one. First of all, acknowledge that you can get help from God, right? So pray. And prayer itself, if you are somebody who prays a lot, whenever you pray, or before you pray for any stressful situation, you go into prayer and come out. I think I have a video actually on the channel about it. You come out and you feel relief. Just going out there and standing and praying for something. That makes you relief because you feel like you poured your heart out to somebody who's greater than you and who's looking out for your own interests. So that is the first way to do that. Now let's go back to our slide. And then the next one is what? Exercise. Again, exercise. To relieve stress, you got to have exercise. And the reason is that when you exercise, you release some chemicals. Some of them are called endorphins. And the endorphins make you feel good.
So there's feedback.
Endorphins, okay. The endorphins make you feel good, right? That is where you come with your exercise. So exercise make you feel good. And that is definitely something that you got to do. All right. And what else? Communication about stuff that is going on. If you are being stressed about an issue and you don't tell anybody about it, then obviously you're going to be stressed all alone. But the issue that you're even stressed about, maybe your husband or wife doesn't even know that you're stressing about it, and yet you are quiet about it and dealing with it with pain. So if you don't communicate, if you don't let the partner know what you're going through, then obviously you're going to be in serious trouble because they don't know. That's the first thing you have to let them know, that this thing that you are doing is bothering me. That's the number one. And then also communicate about your solutions, what you intend to do if you want to seek counseling. Some of us, we rather talk to friends rather than, seeking help from pastors and counselors. We just want to confide in friends. But communicate with your partner. Then when you agree, you go seek help. It is always better to do that. And I think today we're talking about that also at church. And it cuts across both the demands on the women's side as well as on the men's side. So communication is very important. You want to add anything?
Yeah, so sometimes I keep hearing that the men complain a lot that we don't really specifically tell them what we expect of them. We just complain. We don't know how to communicate, what we expect of them. In our mind, we think that they should know, right? They should know that I'm tired. I've stayed home with the kid the whole day, and you are coming from work or you're coming from somewhere. You should know. I don't have to ask for it. But I think they specifically want us to tell them, oh, can you take care of the baby? I need a break. I want to take a stroll. I want to go to the market. We have to talk it out and be specific what we expect of them.
But we also expect you to know that when we came home from work, we are so tired. And you also that's where compromise comes in, right?
Right.
So communication goes both ways. So if the woman expects you to do it, then the man also has to be able to voice out why maybe not this time.
Because in our mind, we think that whatever you went out there to do is different from what is at home. So it's kind of, even if you are still tired, this is a change of job. Like, it's not the same thing, but I'm doing the same thing. So if I can take a break, that would be very helpful. So sometimes we just have to voice it out. Just tell him or her, oh, you want to take care of this. Because in your mind, you're like, oh, a woman is supposed to scrub the bathroom. The bathroom is dirty. How come that you don't see that it's dirty? Maybe the woman has short-sightedness. When they are not wearing their glasses or their contacts, they don't really see. But you have seen it, Oh, honey, can you scrub this area because you're off today? Can you scrub yourself? So there are certain things that we don't take each other for granted. So like I just assume or presume that outside is weedy. You outside, you see the lawn is all horrible. Why don't you just do it? But if we communicate, oh, it's been hectic the whole day. Oh, I don't feel well today, so I wouldn't be able to do this. That's communication. Telling each other what we expect of each other. No presumption, no assumption. We don't infer things because you know this, you should know that. We just have to talk it out.
That's a serious thing to infer, because we usually assume that they should know.
They should
And
know.
that is
It's
what.
so obvious. How
So,
come that I have to tell her? But sometimes I have no idea because maybe I'm thinking about something different. I'm here, but my mind is somewhere else. So just talk it out, communicate with each other, and that will release a lot of our stress. And if stress is taken out, most of the sicknesses, the headache, the high blood pressure, the depression, the anxiety, because if I know that my husband is going to go to here and from there, he'll go here and there and there, and maybe he's not able to come home on time, he just communicate to me, honey, I'm just going to be a little late today. That anxiety, even maybe not even my husband cheating, but being involved in an accident or getting stuck at somewhere that he needed help, I don't know. That anxiety will be taken away because we've communicated with each other. So communication is very, very important in every relationship. Yeah.
all right. The next one is uh, sex. Also, we have to talk about sex, communication about sex too, right? It has to be something that we also talk about, definitely, because without that, we also don't know each other's needs, and all that can also lead to a lot of stress. So, if you want to stop the stress, give and take sex, right? When the man needs it, you got to give it to them. When the woman needs it, you got to give it to them. You have to work around a way that will satisfy everybody. I know that it may not be, easy just saying it like that, but the first key is that we talk about it. Talking about it becomes the first step, and talking can usually change a lot of things so that you won't have problems in that respect. And then last one is the next one is trust.
Oh, before trust, let me mention a little bit about sex. So, like we mentioned, that sometimes some of the stresses can be incurred from our jobs, right? So, you come from your workplace, you are so stressed. So, sex can be a form of a reliever, so that if you are not able to sleep well because you're so alert and so stressed from work, being in a relationship and having sex can help release that stress. And if there is a misunderstanding, even if you have not really sat down to talk about in marriage, by having sex, then after that, everybody is calm. You can now bring it up and talk about it.
All right.
So
So sex
sex
as a
can.
stress reliever. Great, 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 great. And then the next, I think we need I was the man, right?
I didn't hear it
I
all.
was everybody, yeah. Right, opening. Yeah,
Okay.
cool, cool. All right. And so the next one is trust. Trust. We have to develop trusting relationships. If you trust your man or if you trust your husband, then stress will be less. And trust can also be derived from communication. Communication is key because in order for you to be able to trust somebody, you have to know what they are doing, right? But then again, we also have to learn to trust regardless. If you love such a person so much that you give your life to them to live with them, then you must be willing to trust them on most issues, no matter how many times they betray your trust. You got to be willing to give them a chance and trust them, because without trust, I think you mentioned something about trust being probably even higher than communication. Because if I trust you and or if you trust me and I forget to call you that I'm running late, because of the genuine trust you have for me, you won't begin to think anything because you know that my husband will never cheat on me. That is trust, So trust trumps even communication because that is key. If you trust that person, that this person will never, they are out there looking for your good. If he's working late, it's because of the family. It's not just for himself. It's for us. And unless you have reason to believe that there is something going on, otherwise you should not just mistrust anybody. So let your trust levels go up and your stress levels will go down.
That's, I think, one way of thinking the trust can also be if both of you are Christians, right? You know that you report to a higher power. You are a Christian, so I'm not going to learn so much about you because you are going to do certain things because I know you love God. You report to a higher power. So that you reporting to a higher power, I have the trust that you're going to do the right thing. So that gives me that calm instead of being anxious and worry about the details of your doings because you are not of your own and I'm also not of my own. So the trust on the other hand on me, you know that I fear God and I report to God. So as a Christian, it's expected of me to do certain things and not to do certain things. So that realization that my wife, my husband love God, that trust is there, that I'm going to report to a power, a higher power. And because of my trust and my love for God, I'm going to do certain things in a different way. So that will really help each other to ease off and stressing on somebody doing the wrong thing and harming you in the long run.
It's better than stressing on somebody doing, because you know that they don't just owe allegiance to you,
To
but
me,
to a higher power.
to a higher power.
Right. So that's knowing that your husband or wife is a truly faithful person to God. So that's the way. If you don't have a home where relationship to God or religion is something like that, the only thing you can rely on is believing that that man loves you enough. If you also know that a man or woman loves you dearly, you sometimes you sort of calm down a little bit, because the way this man loves me or the way this woman loves me, it would be so hard to think that somebody else is taking my place, even though he or she is not around. You know, so that also comes that way. In case you don't have that trust in God, you don't have that relationship we're talking about, then that would be your only thing. But that doesn't usually always work out. Even the ones with God, sometimes we are tempted here
Yeah,
and
here
there.
and there.
But we trust that you will be faithful all the time. So that is something that will reduce your
The
stress
stress
and
level.
also make you not sick in your marriage. And then we can go to the last one.
So the trust too with money issue, the
Oh.
financial problem, right? Issues. If I hand over my check, my paycheck to you, I trust that you are not going to use it. You are going to plan the future with me. We are going to build our future together. So you're not going to use anything, or you're not going to use the money to build a house, a hidden house somewhere in another place, or use it for your own pleasure, because I trust you. I know that I'm secured when it comes to finance. So that will ease the stress of me, because I know that you are trustworthy and I can put my life, like, I can bet my life that you are going to treat me right.
Oh,
Okay.
that goes for the men. Let's talk about the right there, men out there. Yeah, they trust us if we show them. And I'll add that another way to gain their trust is to be transparent. If you don't hide anything, they know you don't hide anything. But if you are caught, oh, you were doing this and I didn't know. Oh, you did this and I didn't know. Then that begins to create suspicion, and then trust disappears. So live an open life, an open book life with your wife or husband, and the trust will come naturally. If you are caught hiding something, then you are blowing away your trust. Just open it. Even if you made a mistake, let them know that, honey, I did this. I didn't think I was going to do that, but this happened and I did this. And the fact that you are able to come out makes them feel like you regret what you did. But if you cover it and they find out, they're not going to trust you anymore. So open up your books and let the ladies see and their trust. So transparency for trust. All right. So nutrition, obviously we hit on that already. To solve the problems in marriage that come because of the way we eat in marriages, to making us sick, you got to find a way to eat better. And we think we believe at that point a lot. So let's move on and go on further. And the other one is so breathing. If you're already in an unusual situation, learn breathing and relaxation techniques as well as meditation. All those also help. If you go through something, this happens. I mean, this applies not only to stressful marriages, but if you are in any situation where you are anxious, you feel like you're having a panic attack, consider learning the breathing techniques. We also have this also on our video. I actually show you how to do this. So you can check on our channel on Dayspring Life and Health and watch that video also. And meditation too. Relaxation, meditation. Exercise relaxes your muscle tone. So you do exercise and then you do the meditation, you do the breathing, yoga, whatever you call it, and you are also able to overcome the stress levels, which makes you sick. And then counseling. We have also mentioned counseling. Counseling to solve your problems. Not all problems can be solved by the parties involved. Sometimes you need help. And help could be in the form of your church elder or church pastor. And counseling can also be from a professional place where you definitely talk to somebody.
With
And
with the
then,
meditation, I think that something that helped me a lot. Stress from work, from family, from kids, from husband. Sometimes, what I do is like, I'll put on the music I love so much, and I will just listen to the music and I sing along and meditate on the words. And just singing alone just calms me down, take away stress. So meditation can be really helpful when you find yourself in a stressful situation.
definitely, definitely, definitely. All right, now let's go to the next one as well. We already talked about counseling, seeking
Counseling.
help from pastors and professional counselors and all that. The last
If it's
one,
something beyond
if
you,
it's something beyond you, it's always good to start by talking
to
first.
each other.
Talking to each other, the communication, have a seat face to face. I think it was one Reverend Ofori that talked about tea coffee time or something like that.
Yeah.
You sit and face each other and just drink tea or coffee or whatever you like and talk about the issues. And if it doesn't work out, then you bring it to the elders or to the church.
And he also mentioned like eyeball to eyeball.
Yeah, look at
Just
the person
talk from your heart.
from your heart.
Whatever the problem is, talk it out and try to find solution together. And if it doesn't work, then you can seek counseling.
Seek counseling, but don't let things build up too much. Please, we are waiting for more comments to come in. So if there's anything you want to share, put it in the comments and hit the send. Also do the like button, and then we will have more. All right. So the other thing, the last one is divorce. Divorce. We didn't want to talk about divorce, but that's also a solution. In America, I think that the most commonly used phrase before marriage is irreconcilable differences. Irreconcilable differences, right? That is what the law people will write down. Because remember, we started off by saying that marriage is a contract, it's a legal entity that you enter into. And people go through divorce with this short excuse, irreconcilable differences. That sums up everything, whether it was sex, whether it was abuse, whether it was trust, whatever it was. They just say that irreconcilable differences. But the key is that that should be your last resort, because God wants you to be together for as much as possible your whole life. And when you actually do say your pledge, you don't say that I'm pledging until irreconcilable differences come. You pledge for life, right? But unfortunately, stuff do happen. If you marry somebody who beats you up to the point that if you don't take it, you will die, you got a divorce. I mean, I'm with you 100%, no matter what. No pastor will tell you to stay in a marriage where you are being beaten all the time. If they do that, that is not, that is not practical, that is not spiritual, because you come first before the relationship. You have to be there for the marriage to go on. If you are dying in a marriage, what is the sense of the marriage? So that is where divorce comes in. I don't know if you have.
And I think we should always try and seek for a way for the marriage to work, because I know this saying that if there is a will, there is a way. So if you're willing, you want your marriage to work, you have to find a way. As long as it's not physical abuse that may kill you, but it's the indirect things that we talked about, the stress things. We can talk it out and try and find ways and means to make it work. So there should be a will. You got in and you are in to stay. You are going to give it all. You're going to make sure that it's going to work. And you should try and seek help from other sources and make it work. Because I know I read about the divorcees, the people that have divorced, and especially if they have kids, there are kids involved. There are different forms of stresses start hitting in all together, like all over, like double or triple the stress level, because now you're worried about your child being with someone else. Now you're worried about your the other person mistreating your child, and you want to go get your child and you have difficulty finding different form of stresses that come from being divorced. So if you are thinking of divorce, you have to think about the other forms of stresses that will hit you if you divorce. So there should be a will to make it work, and we should work at our marriage, because working at I keep hearing the older people saying, we are old too, right? That you have to work on your marriage. Marriage is work. Marriage is work. So whatever it takes, that will make you happy and fulfilled, and like whatever you sign up for will be met. Let's put work in it and make it work, because we talk about the positive part of marriage. It comes with a lot of benefits. So if we can deal with the disadvantages, then we can really enjoy our lives.
Definitely, definitely. And that's very, very true. I think you need a DJ home. Yeah, we don't encourage divorce. It's always the last resort, as she has said. And we don't want you to go into your relationship thinking that the way out is divorce. I'll just pack my stuff and leave. It doesn't work like that. You can't marry anybody. Because one thing I've learned about that institution is there's never going to be an agreement of everything perfect, because you are coming from even children born of the same household. Look at how different we are sometimes. Your sister or your brother can completely look different, and apart from the looks, your character, you know, temperament, everything about you is different. So you want to be believe that you're going to marry somebody who will agree with you and like everything you like. It's not happening like that. You got to have compromise. You got to have the mindset of compromising on certain issues, because whatever you don't like about that lady, she probably has twice as much of things that she doesn't like
Like
about
about
you.
you.
All right. So if she hasn't told you, don't think that you are the Mr. Perfect. You know, the fact that she hasn't told you that, hey, you are this, you are that, doesn't mean you don't have shortcomings. So don't just pack up and leave. Some people are packed up and left, and they are in the home. So, emotionally, they are no more married. They're just living as roommates because of the financial gain. We are taking care of the kids together. We need sex sometimes. Let's just do it. But the real love with which they went into that relationship has gone, and that is not good. You got to make sure it works. Remember that there's no angel in a marriage. In fact, there's no angels among humans. Angels are angels. We are all people who don't have all it takes to be perfect. But as long as you are willing to compromise, knowing that you have your own shortcomings, you have your own, she has her own, and with that, you can work it and then make it work. Divorce is definitely left to abuse for me, if it comes to, or unless maybe it's infidelity, somebody who doesn't want to change, because that's also like somebody trying to get a disease and infecting you. That one too, if that person is so willing to change, you could probably look into that. But apart from that, let's work and try and make things work. And remember, there's nobody better out there than the person you're already with. You know them already better than whoever you think will be better. Yeah. And so you can deal with that person much more than anybody else. All right, so we are wrapping up, and as we wrap up, we want to throw light onto what is coming up next. We have next we are going to talk about is marriage even necessary? We are dealing with all these problems that marriage happens to bring, the disease and all that. Is it even important that we marry? Why don't we just make roommates with people and just have sex together? If we are tired, we let them go. So we're going to talk about that next time. And then we're also going to talk about, can sickness lead to divorce? So we talked today about how marriage can lead to sickness. And somebody who is sick also in a marriage can also lead to a divorce happening. All right, so those are the things that we're going to talk about. And we want to appreciate those of you who stayed all through with us, and those who checked out because you had to go somewhere. We do appreciate you. And we want to say that stick out with us again next week. Same time, 5 or 6, most likely 5 o'clock. But whatever is the case, we are going to see you. And until we see you again, we say that,
Beloved, I wish above all things that you prosper and be in health, even as your soul prospers.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you.